So yeah, I mean, I think collaboration. So quick, super quick story. How many of you have heard of a rapper named Rhymefest? Okay. How many of you have heard of Kanye West? How many of you heard Kanye West's song Jesus Walks? Okay, so Rhymefest helped write that. Okay, so Rhymefest is from Chicago. Rhymefest was doing a panel with me in Washington D.C. And they were talking about Kanye. They were bringing up Kanye to him, and they kept calling Kanye a genius. Kanye does great work, yes. But what Rhymefest says, he was like, genius exists in collaboration. No individual is truly a genius, right? Even their brightest moments, our greatest moments, can be connected to so many different people before us. Your ancestors speaking through you, your family, all of these people who have poured into you and helped you problem solve over time to get you to a point where you're extremely sharp. So you should always be seeking opportunities to collaborate with others, create other creatives who you share this space with, you're navigating this journey with, and stop looking to people in these higher places thinking that they somehow are going to be your savior. A lot of these people who come up, even the Jay-Z's of the world, a lot of their inner circle, the other creatives who are closest to them still to this day, started out with them. They were all broke together and poor together at some point in time. My wife was with me, right? My wife was with me. I'm trying to keep it together right now. This woman stayed with me when I had no place to live. I had to crash on my friends' floors, right? Like, put blankets on their floors. And she had family in New York who she could have stayed with, and she chose to sleep on floors with me. Her family was 20 minutes away. You know what I mean? So all of our success, all of these big moments that we have, and all the work that we've done, you come up together, I see somebody, hey, you gonna make me cry, y'all better stop hugging. But but these people you start out with, you know what I mean? You build each other up, strength in numbers. You gotta believe that, right? You gotta believe it. I tell people, I'm like, for those of you who are religious, I know I say high five for Jesus like 40 times. I am not a religious person though, right? I spend a lot of time around religious folk and they are hilarious to me. They have the best sayings. So I just steal them all the time. Church folk are the best. And they cook well. I'm just there taking advantage. But but man, like I tell people, I tell my creatives, I tell people in general, I tell the children I've worked with over the years too. I was like, believe in yourself the way you believe in God, right? If you're a religious person, you need to believe in yourself the way you believe in a higher power. Because here's the thing, right? A lot of those faiths teach you that you are a child of God, right? So you're connected to the supreme being that you pray to, but somehow you believe in them, but you don't believe in their work. You are their work. You are the physical manifestation of that supreme being that you talk about here on this planet, right? Based on your faith. Again, that's not my religion, that's yours. But I've studied multiple, so you know, that's all I'm saying. So believe in yourself the way you believe in a higher power. Whatever it is that you believe in most that's not you, I need you to start believing in yourself that way. And work like that. Don't give up on yourself. Please. All right, let's get into it. Yes. Hey, yeah. I'm gonna cry. I'm emotional, B. Yeah, I'm emotional. Shed a single thug tear up here. All right. All right. So, first and foremost, again, our company is called Substantial Art and Music, and you are here for funding your creative endeavors. So, if you were here to learn about how to construct an amazing cosplay, I am sorry to disappoint you. I'm not that guy. But I try to be as entertaining as possible. I'm sorry I lost you. I'm going to miss you, though. It's been great. It's all good. It's all good. All right, take care. So, just a little bit of background about our company. I know I've given you a lot already, but we've collaborated with a lot of different organizations. We've gone around the country doing these presentations from music marketing. We spend a lot of time working with different types of musicians. We work with small businesses. One of our greatest success stories is a small business that literally started the week that the lockdowns began with the pandemic. And since they opened their doors, they've opened another location. Like they've been so successful during the pandemic, and it's one of our proudest moments because we did the branding for this. It's a smoothie shop. It's just a smoothie shop, and they're really about supporting the community and doing great things and promoting health in areas of my hometown that don't have access to, like, their food deserts and things like that. So they're doing great work, and we're blessed to just support so many different folks. And we work with small businesses. We've presented at Amazon headquarters, and I've done music for me as an artist. I've done stuff with Bentley Motors, Ford Motors, a lot of different, so I've done different levels. So anyway, but our agenda today, we're objective. We'll go over that in a second. We'll talk about grants, crowdfunding, creative passive income. We'll do more and then there is a section for tools and opportunities. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip to the very end. Boom. And what I want you to do is scan that so you can have this physical document. So that way, if you too have to meet your friends, if that's what you want to call it, if you have to go, at least you have this. All I ask is that on the page before this, there's a exit survey. You won't have this page, obviously, on your thing, but there's an exit survey on the page before it. If you wouldn't mind just completing that, tell me about myself. It's okay. I won't cry. You know what I'm saying? It's like, besides, you ain't gonna still be here anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just tell me how you feel. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you get that. Once I see the phones go down, I will go forward. Everybody good? Wait for it. Hold on. I mean, trying to make it easier for you. Save those pages for something else. Save that typing. All right, everybody good? All right, here we go. Back to it. Boom, boom. All right, cool. Objective. All right, to provide the arts community with tools and resources to create an income. So, grants first and foremost. Now, I will be 100% honest with you. My wife is the grant specialist between us two. However, I work directly with our clients as well. One of our clients that successfully obtained a $10,000 grant some years ago, we met right here at MomoCon in 2019. We were just chopping it up, saw what they were doing, and then they applied for a grant after meeting with us. After meeting us here, we consulted them, gave them some tools. They applied for a grant, and they won $10,000 that they did not have to pay back. They just had to go out and make great art. This could be you. We are all capable of doing this. So there are different types of grants. There are local grants, state grants, federal grants, and foundations who provide grants. The different types of grants also include operating support, organizational and professional development or technical grants, project support, individual grants, and arts and education. So for individual grants, for example, one of the things, and probably going to jump into this in another slide, if you live in a particular county, no matter where in this country you live in a particular county, one of the first things you should do, and you could get your phones out and try it now just to see if I'm crazy. Sometimes it's on point what I'm telling you. Other times it's not a one size fit all. But most of the time, there's an arts council in the county which you live in, right? And all you have to do is search the name of your county and then put art council. Start there. And don't just apply for the grant. What you also need to do, if you're interested in winning these grants, a lot of times because they are based on the county you live in, it's going to require you to be active in your county, right? So, for example, I live in Alexandria, Virginia, and in Fairfax County. And so when I applied for a grant from my local arts council, when I didn't get the grant, what they told me was, you currently don't do enough work in Fairfax County, right? I'm doing shows in other countries. I'm out in China. You know what I mean? I'm doing a lot of work in PG County and Prince George's County, in Maryland, where I'm from, right? Because even though I live in Fairfax, and that's where my daughter go to schools and all, like, where I'm from is a 20-minute drive away. So I'm always there, right? I'm always there because I want people younger than me to see people like me from where they're from and know that I'm like, they can reach out and touch me. I'm here, and I'm putting in certain work. So that's important to me. But I don't live in my county where I'm from anymore, so I can't apply for grants in that county, right? I can only apply for the one I live in. So this is something for you to think about. If you find that you do have a local arts council in your county, just understand that they're going to expect you to be performing, displaying your art in the county, collaborating with other artists, other organizations, so on and so forth. That is key to winning, having a solid chance at actually winning grants in your area. Just keep that in mind, okay? Any questions so far? All right. All right. Who gets funded? Applicants that exhibit individual human benefits and or societal benefits. B, arts funding typically goes to three areas of activity. Number one, commissioning / presenting art, new compositions, plays, dances, visual work, etc. Delivering art to underserved audiences, marginalized groups, youth, seniors, veterans, disabled, low income, etc. Three, preserving and propagating individual art forms through teaching. All right, innovation, service, teaching. Now, for those of you who are interested in the bigger grants, and again, this is something I'm probably going to dive into on the next slide or two, but for those of you interested in the big grants, the one that are like tens of thousands of dollars as opposed to a few $1,000s, what you want to do is if you're a person who is interested in arts education, right? Maybe you don't want to jump directly into the school right away, but there are local organizations that do after-school program, right? Or maybe you have a connection with a teacher who does work at a school. One of the things that you could consider doing is partnering with that organization or with that educator and talk about how you can use your skill set. So for example, what I told you before is we have an organization that focuses on arts and music, and we targeted schools that did not have art classes, did not offer music classes, right? And I would bring portable studios to the places that didn't have music classes. And with the places that didn't have arts classes, I would get certain art supplies donated, and then I'd bring it there, and then I'd teach them. And when I couldn't get donations, I'd use free software online to teach the kids how to do graphic design, right? So whatever they had, I just met them where they are. Whatever tools they had, art is possible in any space. So I just meet them where they are. But I have to come up with these ideas first, and then I pitch those ideas, and then this is something that you might have to write down because I don't think it's in here. It might be in the next slide though. Hold on, let me see. Nope, it isn't. So there's something called a MOU, right? MOU stands for Memorandum of Understanding. So if you ever partner with an organization, they say, "Oh, I like your idea, baby. That's great. We should do that." Ooh, yes. And then they just try to have you come in. Maybe they give you some paperwork to fill out that's regarding your pay, but they don't actually give you some type of agreement that states what it is you're going to be supplying them. And then in turn, what they're giving you, it's basically a contract. You want to have that because what'll happen is it'll create an opportunity for you all to collaborate together and apply for a grant. Right? And the last thing you want to happen is if you don't have a contract or agreement with them is they win that grant and then decide to go in a different direction. Now, more than likely, they use the information that you provided them to get the grant, right? So they're going to have to do the thing, but maybe along the way they met an artist that they like a little better than you. See what I'm saying? Or maybe somebody cousin in the organization can also, "Oh, I do logos all the time. What you talking about, man? I can come in and do the thing." "Okay, baby." And then next thing you know, you ain't got a job. I'm just saying, have a contract, have an MOU. I know I'm being silly, but I'm not. I promise you, it happens. All right. So let me go back. Yep. All right. Here we go. So where to find grant opportunities? Local and state. Basically, we already talked about arts councils. I told you about that. You got different cultural alliances, Office of Arts and Culture, City Art Commission. These are all terms that, again, you can search with the name of the city that you live in or the county that you live in, and you can locate that. The reason why, sometimes when we do these presentations, like when we went to the Hawaii State Art Museum and did this presentation, basically when we're in a specific city, a lot of times we give you the name of it. But a con this size, there are people from all over the place here, right? There's people from the DC area here. I'm one of them, but you know what I'm saying? Right. So there's a lot of people from different places. So what I'm trying to do is give you certain key terms, right, that you can apply with the name of the city or county you live in That way you can locate what these organizations are. And what you need to do is go to their websites, follow them all on social media, be as visible as possible, right? So they know who you are. When you find out they're having public events, show up, right? Meet the heads of the organizations, meet different people who work with the organizations. Then also, if they have opportunities where they are like maybe collaborating with other organizations, and sometimes they have different creatives or different people who are specialized in certain work come in to speak, right? Maybe they are offering an opportunity for someone to design a particular thing for a thing that they're doing that isn't grant related, but again, it's an opportunity for you to be known amongst these people who make major decisions in terms of where funding for the arts goes in that community. These are people you want to know. You understand? So make sure you spend some time doing that. All right. Let's keep it moving. So key information to remember, right? Obviously, this sounds silly. Like who are you? Who are you serving? These are key questions. You got to be able to answer these questions when you apply for a grant, right? How many of you are musicians? How many of you have submitted your music to be featured on playlists before, right? I tell my musician friends all the time, writing grants is like a long form way of applying to get on a playlist. You have to know certain key terms. If you're a musician that makes a certain type of music, then you need to know what are the subgenres associated with your music, right? You need to also know what playlists currently exist out there that feature music similar to yours. You also need to know what are other artists out there who make music like what you make, because all of that language, all of those terms are going to help you. It's going to give you a better chance at landing the right playlist for you. It's going to get you in front of the right people. Applying for the grants, it's the same thing. It's just a lot more words. It's a lot more fluff. So one of the things you got to know also, if you're going to be working with organizations that are doing work in the community, they're like, if you're not just applying for one based on merit, you're applying for one based on some type of education that's going to affect real change in your community through the arts. Then you need to know that what's the issue in the community that everyone cares about this month. I know that sounds so it had a little tone to it, but let's be real, right? Certain things happen and the world decides this is the thing we care about now, right? And then you bring up something else and I'm like, we're not still talking about that, right? For example, when, I'm not trying to trigger anybody with politics, but when Obama was like, oh, we don't need to talk about race. We're past racism. We just elected a black president. Huh? What? Huh? What'd you say? It was like, is that what you believe? Okay. But it's important to know that you have to be able to read the room. You have to know that when I'm going for certain opportunities, I have to realize that right now the schools care about bullying, right? Or right now, different organizations that I'm trying to work with or major corporations now care about diversity, right? Or inclusion, all of these different, these words, these certain keywords. That also applies to grants, right? So you have to pay attention. Look at certain grants that were given out. Who did they give them to? What is the work associated with the particular project? Like, what is it targeting? These things are relevant. You have to consider that. All right. So what type of grantee are you? Individual or organization? What is your mission, vision, goal? If you don't have those things, you need to really put some thought into it and understand that, like, are you a person who's creating art for art's sake, or do you have actual vision associated with the work you're doing? What is the project? What will the funds be used for? If you are an artist who's constantly spending money on your art, but you've never made a budget, I'm going to pray for you. You might want to start making those, right? And keep track of what that looks like monthly. So that way, when it's time to do this, you're already in practice. You already know what needs to be shared with them. When I do Kickstarter campaigns, I'll have the budget. I'll have it on there. I'll explain it in the video. This is going to cost this. This is going to cost this. Someone actually asked me on one of why's your vinyl cost so much? I'm like, because I'm not cutting costs. You're getting 180 gram vinyl, and it's going to be this. It's going to be on this particular company I'm using. They create green vinyl records. You didn't even know that was a thing. Using 60% less energy. I give them all the info they didn't ask for, right? So they know what their money's being spent on. The grantors, they want to know the same things. All right. What is the impact of your project? So you have to be able to, kind of predict. Basically, this type of work that I'm doing is going to create this type of change. These are my goals, right? Because guess what? When you execute said goals, next time you come asking for money, now you can remember what I told you I was going to do. Look at that. Look at that. Look what I did. Look what I did. I did that with less money. Imagine if you gave me twice that. Look at all this change I'm making, right? So something to think about, man. You got to keep them receipts and let them know. Hold it up in their face. Be like, see what I did? You welcome. All right. What is your impact of your project? What is your experience? What is your goal? Also, when will the project occur? Right? You need to make some hard deadlines for yourself, which is tough to do when you're not dealing with a client. You're dealing with yourself because you're an artist. You're an artist. I work when I feel inspired. Let me tell you something. Who knows who Chuck Close is? Oh man. So I'm about to make y'all mad with this quote. Chuck Close got one of the most gangster quotes ever for inspiration, right? Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us get up and go to work. An artist said that. An artist said that. Because listen, if you're struggling to make a living doing your art, it's because when you work a regular job that you hate, you whatever schedule they give you, if you're one of these people who's not like bucking at the system, you jump through whatever hoops you got to get there on time, to get that money, to do the thing, right? To keep them happy, to blah, blah, blah. But when it's your stuff, some people, not all, some people act as though we have all the time in the world, right? If it don't happen today, it's set deadlines for yourself. Get in the habit of saying, I'm going to do a thing and my goal is to get it done within this period of time. Life happens. My aunt died a few weeks ago, right? My cousin asked me to write a poem about my aunt to do with the funeral, and they asked me to do a whole lot of other stuff. On top of the fact my mom needed to be there, all these arrangements had to be made. I got an album I'm working on. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. I got a lot of responsibilities, and the last thing I needed was more things to do. But guess what? All them things got done, and I still met my deadlines because it has to be that way. Because I want my business to be successful. So you have to get in the habit of setting real deadlines. Be realistic about your goals and your deadlines, but you need to set them, okay? And get in the habit of doing this, before you're applying for these things. I'll speed up a bit so we can get to these other sections. But thinking about where your project is going to take place and also the significance of it taking place in this particular area. Why is this area in particular important? Why can't this be done somewhere else, right? Like include that in your story and your proposal. Why do you need funding? Why is your project necessary? And then the how is extremely important. How do you plan to execute the project? How will you fund the project if funds are not granted or you're only given partial funds? That happens a lot. They'll tell you the grant is for $10,000, but then they found 2 people they like. One is you and then somebody else. So now the grant it's not $10,000, it's $5,000, right? You get $5,000, they get $5,000. Arts Council in my county, they give out $15,000 every year. When I heard that, I was like, what? I'm about to get that bag. And then I applied, right? I didn't win, but then I saw there were 3 winners. And I was like, that's not $15,000. I mean, it is $15,000, but that's $5,000 a piece. Imagine if you were that person who was banking on that 15 and you didn't have any backup plan as what you were going to do if you only got some of the money. You got to be able to figure out how you can execute your plan regardless to how much fun, like know what your baseline is, like what's the minimum, right? and then have some plan of execution on how to get there if you can't get additional funds, right? All right. And how many people will be served, and how will you market your project? All right, let's keep it moving. Any question about grants? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Yes, please. No, I'm talking about specifically like the state, sometimes city, um, county. Depends on what type of grant it is. That will matter, and because even if you are doing some social media related stuff that it can potentially reach the globe, like you still may be, it may be necessary to do targeted posts that are targeting that specific community. Like if you're gonna pay for ads or something like that. You want to make sure that you're targeting that community because more than likely, unless you're going for like a national grant or like maybe a foundation gives you a grant that's not so much based on, it's more so based on merit and not so much based on the where the work is going to take place. And if it doesn't say that, that it doesn't matter like where it's happening, then most of the time they're going to need to know specifically where you're going to be doing the work. Okay. All right. Yes. No. Most of the time you do not. It is free 99. Costs you nothing but time. Yep. And listen, if you're in the DC area, I love being where I'm from because I see more people of color successfully secure grants for the work they're doing in that particular region than most places I've been. And shout out to the people in my community that helped introduce me to this because I didn't know it was a thing. Because in the state and county I live in, when I go to their arts council stuff, it looks very different. Now the community I live in that same county slash city, I call my building like I live in we got a nice apartment, but it's like maybe 15 units per floor in a 8-story building. That's a lot of people in one building. I always call our building like it's like it's the man, it's it's the global community, man. Like you got smell all different types of cuisines walking through the hall. Like it's a beautiful thing. Like so many different people are represented. But when I go to arts councils meetings in that particular region, it does not look like that. It does not look like that. There are very few people of color there, which means lets me know that most people of color in that particular region don't even know these opportunities exist. So that's part of the reason why I do my work, just to level the playing field a bit. Make more people aware of that. That's why I come to these things, right, as well, because a lot of people who are here, whether you're black, white, or other, regardless your background, a lot of times you're here because you didn't know that these opportunities existed, and so it's important that people, once you get this information, don't be worried about competition. Stop being selfish. The fact of the matter is money's not real, right? It's not. It's paper, fam. We give it value. I know it sounds funny and I crack a lot of jokes every time I say this. I'm dead serious. My skill set has value. This paper has whatever value I decide it has, right? It's not really worth anything. It's a fictional. It's a man-made construct that we apply value to these things, but they really aren't worth anything, and that's why you're able to barter, right? You wouldn't be able to barter if money was the only thing that had true value. You have value, right? That's why people give you this man-made concept of money to do a thing. They're like, well, I'm gonna just give you this as opposed to doing some work for you because it's easier to do. It's easier for me to just give you this colorful paper, you know what I'm saying, than actually provide you with a service for the service. I came to you because I didn't want to work. That's why I gave you all the colorful paper. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind, man. Like keep that in mind. I know it sounds crazy, but you're the one that has the real value and you need to act accordingly. All right? Let's get into crowdfunding. And this is a condensed version of it because I know we only have so much time. Time check, anyone? How much time I got left? It's okay, I got it here. I just don't know what time I'm supposed to. 30 minutes? Okay, thank you. All right. So Crowdfunding. So 2012, Forbes.com defined crowdfunding, the practice of funding a project or venture by raising many small amounts of money from large number of people, typically the internet. The internet's the interweb. Here's our company's experience with crowdfunding. Most of our experience is with reward-based crowdfunding. However, we've also done donor-based as well. Our success rate so far is 80%. When I say success rate, I mean fully funded, right? There are exceptions. There are times that we were dealing with a client who really had a lofty goal. They wanted a lot of money, and we knew in our heart of hearts that you probably are not getting that for the thing you want to do based on the size of your network. And so we are very direct and tell people that out the gate because we know the amount of work that it's going to require to do the thing, and not all people are willing to do said work. And what we do is we advise those clients in those situations that you probably shouldn't use a service like Kickstarter, because in Kickstarter, if your goal is to raise 100,000 and you raise 99,000, you don't get it. You don't get anything. You can go to Indiegogo and do the exact same thing, select a service where they pay you regardless if you hit the goal or not, and then you get the money as you're going through the process as well, as opposed to waiting to the very end. So we are smart enough to know that in certain situations, certain clients, they're not going to be able to use one service. They're going to have to use the other in case they don't make it. And most of the time when I would say it's only been once that we tried to convince someone to do the thing and they didn't do it. But most of the time they listen, and then they fall a little bit short, but at least they walked away with something. They covered half of what they needed, kind of like the grant situation. You went in hoping for one thing, you came out with half the money at least. You had no money 30 days ago. You're doing better than most, right? So that's our success rate. We've completed 10 campaigns. Actually, we just completed 2 more in the last 2 weeks, I think 3 weeks actually. And then most of our past campaigns were funded in 2 weeks or less. The quickest campaign we had funded was funded within 20 minutes. The goal was to have 100 vinyl records manufactured for a thing. We did 100 vinyl records sold in 20 minutes to raise money for this cause. The end result was nearly 3,000 records sold. We only had to get 100 done. So we've been blessed. We had another campaign. The goal was to raise $8,000. It ended up it raised $8,000 an hour, and then the rest was raised nearly 40 grand in over 30 days, in just under 30 days, something like that. So we've raised nearly 80,000 through crowdfunding for ourselves as a company, and we've helped others raise over $500,000. We currently we're most familiar with GoFundMe, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Patreon, and Crates. All right. Now, I'm only going to focus, for the sake of time, I'm going to just focus on the top 2 because most of you, that is what your experience is with. That's reward-based crowdfunding. That's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all of those sites. Basically, I give you money, you give me cool things. Yay, right? And then donor-based, you give me money and you don't get anything, right? You get good favor from the ancestors. The ancestors smile upon you. Good job, young blood. Good job, right? Now, other types of crowdfunding that do exist is equity-based crowdfunding, like where you can give people equity in your company for them funding your project, and then debt-based crowdfunding, which think of it like a credit card. Most people don't know these things exist, but it's a credit card, but with better interest rates. Okay. All right, I'm only focusing on the first 2 sections because that's most of you, because you are because of your skill set, will more than likely be dealing with the first 2. Most of you are going to just be dealing with row number 1. And in row number 1, you have Kickstarter. Most people don't know, but Indiegogo is the actual OG, not Kickstarter. Indiegogo came first. They were introduced, I believe it was in Utah. What's the film festival that happens there? Sundance, right? Yeah, so it was first introduced at Sundance, and I believe that was like 2008 or so. So it's a fairly new thing, that hasn't been around as long. It feels like it's been around forever, but it's still a fairly new concept. Of course, we know about Patreon. That's a form of crowdfunding as well. Crates, spelled with a Q, is basically a site where if you're a musician and would like to press up vinyl records, it's a site that specifically allows you to crowdfund vinyl records. You have to come up with a minimum of 100. The cool thing about their site is they actually sell to a lot of record stores globally as well. So you can get to 100 a lot quicker if you have something that a store is interested in, because they might order like 10 to 15 copies, right? As opposed to everybody getting one or two, right? Bandcamp also offers crowdfunding as well. Bandcamp, if you are, who's a musician in here? How many of you on Bandcamp? Good man. Whew, I was about to find something to throw if you didn't have your hand up still, because Bandcamp is one of the greatest tools for musicians that exist nowadays. They're a great company. I've had the pleasure of, being good friends with the guy who's a former senior editor, and then we're associates with the VP, one of the VPs over at Bandcamp, and they provide great services. One of the things they do is offer crowdfunding for vinyl records. You have to hit at least 250 in sales, though. But outside of that, they also allow you to do subscriptions. How many of you who had your hand up use the subscription feature for Bandcamp? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? You got to use that subscription feature, man. Think of it like Patreon, but rather than having to remember to go to Patreon to post your music thing after you uploaded it to Bandcamp, granted, you can also do that on Patreon. But wouldn't you rather just do it in the area that is built for music if you are a musician? Makes sense to me. But I'm not telling you only have to do one, because I do them both. So, yeah, all right? Get your money however you choose. Then I'm going to speed through the rest of them. You got Ukulele, you got Seed Spark, you got Bonfire. Most of these deal with also allow you to crowdfund through shirts. But then there, what was it? Donor base, we're not gonna spend a lot of time on. I'm gonna try to keep it moving, because the one I have the most experience with is GoFundMe. All right, let's get into it. Here's your to-do list for crowdfunding, what you need to know before you even launch a campaign. First off, do your research. I know you think your idea is original. Good for you. Give yourself a cookie. I promise you, there's a bunch of projects out there that are fairly close to what it is you're trying to do. Close enough. The biggest difference is the name and where they're located. Right? You might find something in your backyard and be like, oh, fudge sticks, I got to start over. You know what I'm saying? So do the research, right? Look at the sites that were successful. Look at the ones that failed, right? See how much of your idea lines up with those that failed and were successful, so you can go ahead and make some edits, right? And next up, you're going to make sure you write your story. Give as many details as possible. It doesn't have to be super long-winded, but you want to take the time to write a compelling story. Why should I give you money to make a thing to make you more successful? Right? Like, I mean, I hope you win. That's great. But why? For why? Why do I need to give you this? Right? Why do you need me to do this thing? Why can't you do it by yourself? I need to know why. Give me a compelling story. Right? Your elevator pitch. All right? Puts a lot of thought into that. Build a team. No person is an island. Right? Build a team. And what I mean is, more than likely, depending on the scope of what it is you're doing, you already have a team helping you do the thing. But if you're a person who's out here, you're doing your Han Solo thing, I mean, even he had Chewbacca, but I'm saying, like, you got to go ahead and figure out who's your main supports, who's going to help you, not just with making the thing, who's going to help you promote the campaign. Right? Because if you're out here relying on yourself to just tweet about it or post it on Instagram every day, you're going to be posting the same stuff almost daily, and people are going to stop caring in the first 3 days, maybe a week if you're lucky. So find a team so that way you have different ways to get the word out, okay? Link with influencers. How many of you have a friend who, like, for some reason, just for no reason whatsoever, just has a ridiculous amount of people following them on TikTok? And then you see what they do, like, why, fam? Like, why is this? Who cares why? All you know is that's an influencer who you know, right? This is a person who, if you're lucky, loves you, cares about you, wants to see you be successful. Why wouldn't you start reaching out to these people to help you share a thing, right? Maybe it reaches a lot of people. Maybe no one cares, but at least you tried to reach out. You started close to home with influencers you know. Some of us got siblings or little cousins or somebody in your family. Like, my homegirl's a award-winning poet who only has so many followers on social media. Her daughter does nothing. Her daughter works at a place, that a lot of people have worked, and basically has a ridiculous amount of followers on Snapchat and TikTok. And so she helps her mom promote her poetry, You know what I mean? Her mom started putting out stuff, so she didn't even tell people it was her mom. She just, when the audio came out, she just started dropping it in the background, helping to get the word out. You know people like this. Most people do, right? Sometimes you know these people and just haven't had a conversation with them about what they do. But this is an opportunity for you to learn and maybe an opportunity for you to get some additional support. Create a task schedule / calendar to map out what your campaign is going to look like 30 days before, during the 30 days, and then possibly as long as necessary after, as you roll out, getting everyone everything they need. All right. Research your tools and services. Like, for example, how many of you are going to more than likely have to deliver physical goods, right? But you're using multiple companies to press up said physical goods. Are you like, when you do your research, you got to figure out how much the shipping is going to be to get the stuff to you, right? But then how much it's going to cost to get to them. But then wait, you got stuff being delivered at different times. Do you really want to do this yourself? There are services that out here that, like, you ain't got to do that. Send it to us, baby. I got you. You know what I'm saying? So you send it to them. That's going to cost additional. So you got to do all of this research so your budget is as accurate as possible. Because the first time I did a campaign, you know what the biggest mistake I made? I forgot to charge shipping. I hit my goal and I only went $100 over, but I had 200 people contribute. Yikes. That's a lot of packages to go out, fam. And that's at least $3 per package. And then, shout out to my people in Asia. I was sending them packages to Taiwan and Japan and all of that. And I saw that. I was like, why is this $15 to send? It weighs nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I'm sending nothing, fam. But, like, it definitely don't cost nothing. So you got to do your research, figure out what all these costs look like. It's extremely important, all right? Take advantage of social media, obviously. Do some research on what's working well. If you know that Instagram loves reels right now and you're not doing any promo that's a reel, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You also need to know that basically they only show your post to a very small percentage of your following, and these are the people who are most active. And if those people who are not most active if they don't interact with your thing, the rest of your followers will not see it. And in order for them to get access to it, you have to pay, basically, and advertise, right? So it's important to know that. Prepare a media pack. So a media pack, you're going to design all of the different things with the logo. Whether you got photos, you want to brand it, whatever hashtag you're using with your campaign, you want to include that. All of these different things, so you make sure that when you're sharing the stuff, you're reminding people where they should go, the website. If there is a website for it, all of that information should be on there. If you have a shortened link, whatever it is, but you want to create an actual brand pack, or media pack, so you can get the word out. Create your reward tiers, add-ons, film a high-quality story video. You don't need a fancy camera like those. Most of your iPhones or your shout out to Team Android, it's just probably me and 3 of you. I appreciate you. I'm a hater. Meanwhile, I'm on a Mac. I know it makes no sense. Here I am. But you want to make sure that you shoot a high-quality video. 9 times out of 10, it's a lighting thing. If you seem to struggle with getting quality video, it's a lighting issue most times. And there's enough tutorials in the world, all right? Last few things with that, create your stretch goals. Prepare for what happens in case you really win, right? And what I mean by really win is if you pass your goal, and then launch your campaign, all right? I'm going to breeze through. Survey backers. Before you launch, survey backers. People who you think would invest in your thing, ask some questions. Create like a form that they could fill out, so on and so forth. You want to host live events, whether it's online or in person. And then you can create nice little QR codes like the one I presented that links directly to your campaign so people can go ahead and do the thing. All right. Publicly thank your backers and include a link to the profile. It's a less spammy way of spamming the hell out of people, right? If they provide their name and what their social media is, that's something you should consider. Also, if you're a person who has old inventory, thank you so much. You're the best. If you have old inventory, you want to make sure that you include that. That way you don't have to spend additional money outside of shipping and maybe packaging, right? But now you don't have to create new things outside of the other new thing that you're already making. Make sure you add additional funds, 15 to 20% on top of your budget to cover different platform fees. And then whatever the total number of people in your network, family, friends, colleagues, etc., only expect about 5% of them or less to contribute. That's the algorithm, fam. The algorithm remains undefeated. The algorithm and the internet, right? Most people, even the ones who get lucky once, it's really hard for them to replicate that success over and over again. That's why you see people with millions of followers with videos that only have thousands of plays, right? But then they have other videos with 18 million plays. Like, it's hard to successfully do it and replicate over and over again, all right? The better your rewards, the better the options, the better the chances. Just keep that in mind. Put a lot of thought behind that. So this last section, obviously, we're not going to have time to go through everything because I got to get out of the way. But what you got to start doing, some advice that my friend is a visual artist from the D.C. area, from PG County, Maryland, named Naturel, good friend of mine, very successful. One of the things that we talked about as he started to see more success, we talked about a conversation he had with Dame Dash, and I'm sure a lot of you've heard this advice with other people. You got to think about at least 7 different ways to monetize the one thing, right? You create the one thing and you're like, yeah, this poster look amazing. I'm going to sell the poster. That's it, fam. That's them. We just gonna sell the poster, and you're expecting this is gonna get you a house. I don't know if that's not the path, right? So anything you create, think about all the different ways you can monetize the thing. For example, my friend working on a TV show needs music for said TV show. I say, hey friend, I can make music for your TV show. In my mind, I'm also thinking, hey friend, your TV show don't pop. I know the 10 to 12 things I'm about to do with this song. Please believe me. And the first thing I did was I made sure that, number one, he doesn't own the song. I do. So I'm licensing the song to him. So when he pitched his show and it didn't work out, I was like, well, I guess this is on my new instrumental album. But I'm also have the vocal version. So now I got 2 different ways I'm already monetizing the song. But then I'm also registering my publishing, right? So that's another way I'm getting money from the song. I'm collecting from streaming. I'm collecting digital royalties from Bandcamp, right? Now, one TV show didn't work out, I licensed it to another TV show, right? A rapper came along, just happened to be related to a really successful and famous rapper. Wanted to buy said beat from me. I was like, nah, fam, you can license it though, because I'm making lots of money with this thing. Why would I stop doing that? You sound crazy. So what I'm saying is everything you come up with multiple ways to monetize the thing. Have a little brainstorm situation with your fam and really figure it out. Ask friends who are keep friends with you who are smarter than you. Please, don't be the smartest person in the room. That's a great way to just you're just a glorified not so smart person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not as smart as you think. Keep smarter people around you so they can help you brainstorm. But anyway, I know I got to get out of the way. All of you have the link, the QR code that I gave before. I can bring it up one more time. And what I can do is I do have somewhere to be in a little bit, but I can hang out front for a few to answer more questions. But in the rest of the section, it just includes other ways you could do, other things you can do, pardon me, to monetize and, and basically, just make more money doing what you do. The last section I will cover, though, these opportunities for you. There are so many organizations out here that will fly you around the world to share your gift. There are other grants and opportunities out here with the Americans for the Arts, local arts councils, as I mentioned. If you're a hip-hop head like me, there's a dope organization called Next Level. So I'm an ambassador of hip-hop for the United States State Department, and they actually send people like me around the world to do conflict transformation. They will pay you for training. They will pay to send you to this country. You will stay there for weeks, right, and get paid to do what you do. So I'm a part of Team Haiti. My friend who was here earlier is a part of Team Croatia. So, yeah. But anyway, I got to go. Again, QR code is there if you missed it before. Go ahead and grab that. People who came in late who are not here for me, it's all good. If you want some of this goodness, you can go ahead and get that too. All right? I'll be in the hall, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Seriously. All right?